everybody. My name is Smitha Kapoor. Today we are meeting one of my favorite persons, Smitha Uchil. She's part of an IT organization. So welcome on board, Smitha.
Thank you, Smitha. Thank you for the lovely introduction.
I really want to hear your story from beginning of a little Smitha growing up to a D&I lead of this really large IT organization. How has the journey been?
I grew up in a normal middle class family, the firstborn. I grew up in Goa, lovely place to grow up. But I had a challenge right in the beginning. At the age of 1, I was just getting into my first birthday. And that's when I got a fever. And then I got this viral attack, and then it was, diagnosed as, polio. So I couldn't walk. I went back to crawling, and then it was a whole lot of treatments. And so that was the struggle that I had in the initial days of my, childhood. But as a child, I just went with it, not realizing a lot of things, because you're a child, you're playing, you don't realize. I think reality struck when I got into my teenage. That's when it kind of hit me bad that, I'm living with a disability. And this is way back, right? I'm talking very many years ago, when people's attitudes were a lot different than what it is now. You had people staring at you. I think what triggered for me was when one of the adults said, why are you bending so much and walking? Just walk up straight. And that's when it struck me that, actually not walking right. Obviously I was not walking right, but it hit me then. That changed a lot of things for me, and obviously there is an inferiority complex attached to the whole thing, right? And, fight as you might, it's there. But that statement kind of bogged me down completely. It beat me down. I turned into a recluse. I couldn't face people. I started, retrieving into a shell. And that was not a very good phase of my life. And, much as I was academically strong and all of that, this social skills of mine took a total beat. And it went on for a couple of years. Then a small change, that I had, my dad kind of got me, a support, like a caliper, which I used as a support. And that kind of changed my posture of walking. I think that's where it changed something in me. Also, the fact suddenly I realized, I can do two things. I can sit and cry about the situation for the rest of my life. Nothing's going to change. It's not going to change. I'm not going to walk any better. It's only my attitude that I can change, accept it, move on. So the two things that worked for me was the day I accepted the reality and chose to move on, and I changed my attitude. I said, this is my life. I can be the person I want to be, irrespective of how I walk, how I bend, how I stand, how I fall. I should bring out the me. And that's what changed for me. And from then on, it's been a better journey. Of course, there were challenges. There are challenges. That's not going to leave. But I think with the changed attitude, somewhere it's helped me move on gracefully in life.
Couple of things that I picked up from you while you were sharing your journey is that you can just sit and cry there that, this had to happen to me, to saying that just accept it and move on and see what you can do differently, right? And this is something which is a big lesson, Smitha, and I don't think it comes very easily. Do you think it came to you easily, or it took?
No, it didn't. It didn't come easily to me. There were a lot of tears. There was a lot of, and there were, we went through a lot of treatments. My whole childhood, along with my academics, was treatments, every kind, whether it was the allopathic, the homeopathic, the people who told you at the village some massage will work. We did everything in the hope that something will happen, right? It is just, parents hope for their child, and that's something that, so the innumerable times we were disappointed, we came back disappointed. It didn't sit well with me, right? You put in so much of hope, energy, money, and then you come back with the same situation. And I've lost an academic year as well, just going behind all of these treatments. So it's never been easy at any juncture. Then there were things that I wanted to do as a little girl, which I couldn't. And some things were because I was too embarrassed, because people are seeing me, watching me, and I can't do it as beautifully as them. I used to love people who used to dance. I couldn't dance. It's not that I couldn't, but I didn't, because I was too embarrassed, right? But the moment I got over all of those things, right, the embarrassment, the what are people thinking, what are people looking at, I think that's when things started moving on in the right direction. So academically, I was good, and then there came a stage when you went to college, you had good friends, and I had a good circle of family and friends alike. Nowhere did they feel that I was any less. So that kind of helped me in my journey. So I went on to complete my education, took on a couple of other courses to enhance my skills. So the other challenge I would like to say here was my first job interview, and that I'll never forget. That was again. So this I did my travel agency course, ticketing and all of that. I love meeting people and all. So I said, okay, that's an industry I would probably like to be. So I kind of took that on. So and at that time there was an job opening, and I said, let's apply for it. And then I went on for the interview. There were hundreds of people. But yeah, fine. I had the qualification, so I went in. The moment the guy saw me, he didn't even ask me to sit. He didn't look at my resume. I mean, he may have looked at my resume, but the question that he asked me was, why didn't you mention your disability in your resume? I said, the qualification is there. I can do that. It's a desk job. He said, no, you will have to move around. You'll have to go from here to there. If I couldn't move from here to there, why would I be in his office, right? But probably, because I had already accepted that, and that attitude of mine had changed, that didn't bring me down. But definitely, I've not forgotten that incident. And yeah, today I've achieved so much. I would like to meet that gentleman and tell him where I am. That's something that, early on in my career happened. But as I progressed through my career, especially after I moved to Bangalore very many years later, the kind of acceptance that I got from the various organizations that I've worked, and all reputed organizations, not once did, whether it's the interview, whether it's during my tenure with them, never once was I treated differently. And that's something that, I've seen a very positive change in the industry right now towards people with disability. And a lot of the companies are going that extra mile to do a lot for, people with disability. And that's very commendable.
So you saying that after that one incident, you never ever faced any kind of discrimination, any kind of bias? Are you trying to say that, Smita?
Yes, Smita, not that I recollect. I have not faced any of it. But I have come in touch with a lot of people who I know with people, who have a disability. They have not always been that fortunate, probably because maybe their condition, their situation, and there are a whole lot of things, right? I feel that, an opportunity is something that it's like giving wings to fly. That one opening is something that you give. And I think that's what I got with the company that I started. And that's the opening that I got, which allowed me to achieve these heights. So I'll always be thankful to that company. So like, for example, in one of the organizations I worked, there was this young girl with cerebral palsy who came, and I interviewed her. And I thought she fitted the role extremely well. But, at that point of time, so we were interviewing. So for the fit that she was, there was no really an opening there. All we had to do was create that opportunity for her, because she was a fresher, create that opportunity for her, and we would have made her life. That's where I think organizations can make a difference, taking that extra mile, that one step, because we all have to impact just one person's lives, right? One person's life is what we have to impact. If we multiply that with the number of people in an organization, imagine the impact that we can each make, that it'll make a whole world of difference, right? So that's what I'm saying. But yeah, everybody's not been as fortunate probably. And yeah,
it's your story. but they don't even ask whether will you be able to
I was
buy
going to
it.
come to that. There is that other example that I want to give where it was a factory setup. And though I know I did excellently well because I was shortlisted into the first five, and I know that I was almost there to I didn't get the job. And the feedback they gave was, I would not be able to maneuver the entire property. I wouldn't be able to walk around. But I think that is a call that I should have ideally taken and not them. Maybe they were right, maybe they were not right, but that call had to, basically lie with me and not them.
That's a very strong statement. People make decisions for others,
Yes.
assuming that they are thinking for the other person, for the benefit of the other person, but they're doing actually a disservice. At least a conversation, an open conversation, will really help.
Yes, yes. I wouldn't apply to the job if I thought, or maybe I went over there and I saw that, vast property. Probably I wouldn't be able to, but I think in all fairness to everybody, because in our limited abilities, there is a capability, and that's for us to decide.
I see you so confident, Smita. From day one, I didn't expect that, you were any less capable or you're such a confident woman. Have you done anything differently to work on yourself, or it just very naturally happened to you?
I have not done really anything about it, but I think from the time I started, see one thing I told you when I got my caliper, right? I started walking taller because there was a whole, that support really supported me, to walk tall. And that kind of gave me a confidence. That was one thing. Around that time, I met my partner, and that kind of gave me wings to fly, that because in that time and age, marriage was something, I mean, polio was treated like, it was an outcast, oh, this girl's life, she doesn't have a life, what was she going to do, so when this person entered my life, it kind of felt that, people are seeing beyond my disability, they are seeing me, they're able to see that, and if he is willing to come that walk that journey with me, what more do I need? I think from there I started building the confidence, and then it's just the circumstances that led to it. And I did started doing, and the opportunities that I got in the organization, I started doing really well, and then I got the support from my supervisors and all of that, and then the growth just happened. When you start doing well, your supervisors appreciate you, your supervisors appreciate you, you're doing well, so that whole cycle followed, and then it was an easy journey. Yeah, so that way I built on my confidence. So I think, but it didn't come easily, Smita. I had to work on it, but I didn't do anything else. I think it just the circumstances and my attitude kind of played out, and then I'm here where I am now.
This is so important and such a clear message to many women, many girls who are listening to you, must be struggling with something or the other. Every girl child, in fact, if you ask me, as a child, I was like, oh my God, why I don't have this? Everything we feel, oh, I don't have this, oh, I don't have that, right? We always struggle with, my hair is like this.
Yes, you do, yeah.
We do that, right? And that becomes a thing that will pull us back, okay? Or not allow us to fly the way you said, right? So all the girls who are listening to you should take this as an inspiration and say that when Smitha Uchil can do it, I can also. This is beyond it. I have to look beyond it, right? So that's amazing. So then that makes me ask you another question. Do you have a role model who constantly inspires you?
I think my role model would be, the Australian American evangelist and motivational speaker. So he's got this condition which is called the tetraamelia syndrome, where he's born without limbs, basically. Okay. So this guy is a motivational speaker. He moves people. So in one of the videos, he talks about, he demonstrates how when he falls, he attempts the struggle that he has to get up. So yeah, so he says he has two choices. He can lie there and say I'm a failure, or he can try, he can try, he can try, he can try 100 times. And that one, the 101st time when he makes it, he gets up. So that kind of, is very inspiring to me, that, we all fall in our lives, whether, we are in a physical condition or whether we are emotionally down, we all fall. We all fall. But the beauty of it is we all have to pick up ourselves, even whatever, how hard you fall, how many times you fall, the ability to pick yourself and move on is what I learned from him.
So, Smita, we've come almost to the end of our conversation. So, I want you to give a message to the audience, especially women. If you have anything that you think any girl would be inspired, any woman who must be there, who must be struggling with whatever condition they are in, any specific message to any group?
So what I would say is, we are all in this rat race. We all want to move ahead. We're rushing past, but we're not all made equal, right? You have your talents, I have my talents. So, our basic, I think, struggle is that we compare ourselves to so many, and that's what brings us down. So my message is, even if you have to compare yourself to your own, set yourself as a benchmark, and then you see how you have moved forward. You'll be surprised to see what you've achieved. So just make yourself as your benchmark and be proud of yourself, whoever you are, however you are.
Now you have one more role. You are a D&I specialist. Now give us a message for the corporate world, how they can make an ecosystem, or what is a message, how they can make an equal world for each one of us. I'm sure they have a lot of work to do in that space, but there should be something, one quick dirty thing that they can do, and it could make a huge amount of difference.
What I see as the challenge today, DNI, nobody is still, not everybody is taking it seriously. Everybody pursues it as an HR agenda. We need the leadership to be involved. They have to have their stake in it, each one of them, to make that difference. Whether it's women, whether it's people with disability, whether it's the LGBT, you have to have your stake in it. And slowly but surely move that needle. And I believe it's not just the numbers, it's what you do will eventually get you the numbers. So I think your stake to get there is what is important.
So what you're trying to say, that leadership stake to be there and just not tick in the box, that just because
Yes.
it's being driven by somebody sitting on top, but do you really mean it? Do you really feel for it? So I think take a step back. What you just said is take a step back to all leaders. Think through what you really want to do here. Are you really interested, or it's just because somebody else is pushing the agenda? It can't be an HR agenda. It has to
It
be.
cannot be. Yes,
Here.
yes. And like I said, in the case of that PWD, if each one of us just goes and makes that difference, even if you have to create a role, right? You're a large organization. Even if you have to create that one role to give that opening to one person, and the minorities, the people with disabilities, the people from the LGBT community, they're struggling. So if you can make that one opening, you are not just you're not just giving a life to somebody, you're giving a life to that whole family, and then the community at large. So there's a whole lot you're doing, by just doing that one bit from you. So I think that's important, that we have a total involvement in it.
Are you in the favor of having a reservation for a particular category, like a reservation for women employee, reservation for LGBTQ folks, reservation for people with PWD? Do you think that's a good idea?
So honestly, not. I don't believe in having a reservation, because see, end of the day, you're running a business. You can't be compromising on quality, just to be part of, do something good for a community. You have to be able to. It has to make sense to your business. But what I'm saying is, when you identify the people who have it in them, make that difference, right? So that is something that we can absolutely do. In one of the organizations that I work, we had this a CSR training for the people with disabilities. I mean, for the hearing impaired, right? So they we had the CSR program to train them, to in customer service, right? So that was, and whether they were going to be working for us or whether they were going to be working for somebody else, that was one step that we took. So these are small steps that we can take. Not everybody will fit the bill. So don't make reservations, but when you see talent, keep them. And that is when, even if you have to create that role for them, do that, because that's where you're making the difference, right? And that's what DNI, I think, end of the day, that's what inclusion is all about, right? So not reservations, but inclusion, definitely.
Awesome, Smita. Thank you so much. I mean, I have learned or picked your brains from various things, and I'm sure a lot of people who are listening to you will also be excited, elated to pick those inputs from you and see how they can make differences in their own organization, and also so many inspirational statements that you made for women in general, okay, or people, different people from a different set or a class, okay. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you, Smitha. It was lovely speaking.